This is the January 2022 Phoenix Tableau user group. Yes, I know we're in February. We did have to reschedule, so appreciate everyone joining us today. We've got a lot to cover. Just as some housekeeping reminders, all participants are muted. So if you do have any questions, comments, or feedback, go ahead and use the Q&A chat features within the interface here. Today's session will be recorded and will be made available on the Tableau YouTube channel. If you don't have a link to that, we'll go ahead and we'll provide one in the chat today. So today's session, we'll go through some announcements and updates. We've got some great presentations, demos with some of the new capabilities within Tableau. We'll talk about some relationships, quick LODs. We'll talk about some formatting enhancements. We'll do some Tableau trivia. We'll have some fun later today, test your Tableau knowledge, and then we'll talk about pretty much anything else you want to talk about and wrap up the meeting. As a reminder, we do meet on the every month. So aside from this session being rescheduled, we will be back on the third Thursday of every month. So February 17th will be our next meeting. If you are a Salesforce fan, please do join us. We'll be teaming up with the Pittsburgh Tableau user group, covering pretty much everything that you'd want to know and more around Tableau and Salesforce, Tableau CRM, Slack integration, Lightning Web Components, maybe some Einstein, Discovery, and more. So make sure you sign up for that. That link is out there. If you go to the community.phoenixtug.com or just usergroup.tableau.com and look for Phoenix, sign up. Our Tableau user group leadership team. We're 4 strong now. We've got Destiny Scott, Mujahid, myself, Michael, and Adriana. So we're pleased to be with you. Looking forward to you spending time throughout 2022. If there's anything that you want to know more about Tableau, we've got a lot of experience. We're all well-rounded, versatile in all the products. Please let us know what you're interested in. We're building out some more content for later in the year. We've got really great content, as I mentioned, coming up shortly in another couple weeks with Salesforce. We'll have some things coming up in March with Tableau Public, resumes. So if you're a student looking to get in the job market or career advancement, we'll have a lot of great content for you there. All right, for those of you that are just starting out with Tableau or you're looking to advance and upskill, highly recommend the Tableau e-learning. This is a feature, very cost effective. Head out to the elearning.tableau.com website. There you can pick your learning path as a executive leader, a creator, data scientist, designer, server or site admin, whatever it might be. This is a quick, easy way for you to skill up. And most importantly, there is for everyone out there a free data literacy learning path. So before you do anything, if you haven't taken that, you can still head out to the e-learning, but also do check out the data literacy learning path as well. We want to make sure that everyone has the right amount of knowledge and skill to talk data analytics and communication within organizations. Today we're going to be covering quite a bunch of new features. Some of them were released in 21.4. Some of them have actually been released in previous versions and enhanced in 21.4. So we're excited to bring you a lot of these. If at any time you want to know what's going on with the new features functionality, you can head out to tableau.com/new-features. That will take you to the website where you can view highlights of pretty much everything baked into Tableau, Tableau Desktop, Prep, Server, Online, and more. A lot of really cool content, especially for admins, server people, desktop, web authors in this latest release. So you're going to see a number of those features highlighted today. And we don't have time to cover everything. So do check out this website, see what's out there. This is a great way for you to communicate within your own teams, organization, about the capabilities, about what's new. We are pro certification here. We highly recommend Tableau Certification as a means to showcase your knowledge and skill, but it's also a great way to learn the product. So if certification may not be your thing, it's still a great blueprint for you to learn how to use the tool effectively and what concepts you should know to be successful. So do check that out. If you go out to tableau.com/certification, there's a number of certificates for you to preview, study guides, and if anyone's ever interested in talking certification, again, the Tableau leadership team here in Phoenix, very well versed in that regard. So we'd be happy to have those conversations, let you know best ways to study, learning paths, things like that. All right. Most important thing within Tableau is the community. So we appreciate everyone being here today. We know it's late in the day, and there's also competition for other user groups every single day of the week. So we appreciate you being here. And as part of that, the larger part of the Tableau community, we want to make sure that you know that the community has tons of resources, ways for you to engage, learn about the products, having problems, issues, post to the Tableau forums, a lot of great ways to connect with data rockstars such as yourself. So head out to the community, community.tableau.com. Make sure you sign up if you haven't already. And this is a great way to get engaged and connected with a lot of your peers. And just to reiterate, we'll move this slide up, but this is where you'll want to tackle that data literacy, that free e-learning path I mentioned earlier. And you can head out to tableau.com/learn/data-literacy, and that'll take you through that free foundational course on learning everything that you need to know to be competent with data visualization, data analytics, statistics, concepts, all of that nature. All right, so we're going to jump into our presentations. Our first presenter, Adriana, is going to be previewing and talking about relationships. Relationships was introduced quite a while ago, but a lot of new features, functionality with relationships over the last few versions. So we're going to talk through some of those. And also quick LODs. What are they? How are they used? And how can you take advantage of them? Adriana, are you ready to share?
I'm all set.
All right. I'll go ahead and I'll stop sharing and take it away.
Sounds good. Thank you, Michael. Sharing now. Let me just pull the chat to make sure I can see your questions. And perfect. So welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to be here today. This is well, now I'm a member of the user group, but a few months ago, before I became a member, I was invited to present about relationships when this new functionality came up in Tableau with, I believe, if I remember correctly, was 2020.1. And relationship was a kind of a new concept for a lot of Tableau users. We were used to working with two things, if you remember, it was joins and blends, if you remember that. And as and after relationships were released, I basically, I had been using relationships since then. I don't use blends anymore. I fell in love with relationships. They work great. And one of the functionalities that I had been applying a lot with relationships is actually role level security. And I'm sure a lot of you have to design entitlement tables that come from your database that would allow you to give permissions and functionality to different entities or customers or just different levels of permissions to depending on the role of the user. So in the past, before this functionality was released, any entitlement table, and those who are familiar with entitlement table is simply, or are not familiar with entitlement table, is a table that is basically contains all your entities and the users of those entities, right? The username or the user ID. And that user ID is basically matches the username in Tableau server or Tableau online is what is Tableau recognizes as, okay, this person has access to this entity or this person has access to this client. So it's a table that is usually built in the from your source, whatever source you use. In my case, my sources usually are architected in data platforms such as Snowflake, Google BigQuery, or SQL Server. It can be other platforms as my sources. And in that table, I have a list of users and the entities they belong to, and that's how I'm going to control what they have access to my Tableau server or my Tableau online. So before this functionality was released, any table or any entitlement table that contained authorized users and the roles needed to be joined to the data set that needed to be controlled by the role level security. When I say that is, if you can see this dashboard that I have in front of you, I don't have any role level security added on this dashboard. So in this case, if I wanted to add a role level security with a join, let me pull that one, which is this one. So this is one. So if it was a join, I'll show you how it will look like. I go into the data source. I will be connected to my sources, my main table, transactional table, and then I will have an inner join to the entitlements table that will tell me who could see what based on the permissions I had given. Joins were great. They worked perfect. But one of the challenges I had before relationships is that, for example, if I had in my join, and this was kind of my entitlements table, if I had two rows, like in this case, I have the West as two rows, as you see here. I have two users on the West section. That a join, what it does is, by creating two rows, then at a higher level, my numbers will be overstated. At the single level, for either Michael or Desiree, they will see the data at the level they needed to see it. It was the totals will match as it was expected. So the role level security with the join and two rows in the table for the same region or the same company, it was not impacting the single user. For the single user, they were going to access the data and see their totals as expected. However, a lot of the times I was asked by the executive level to, they will come to me and say, Adriana, obviously this dashboard has a role level security, but I want to be able to see everything. I want to be able to see want to be the user who can see everyone's regions, everyone's users. I want to see all my totals. So when I had the joins, I had to come up with I could do two solutions. I could either build two dashboards, one with the join and it had a rollable security. And then I will go and build another dashboard that had no rollable security. However, I'm not a big fan of duplicating effort. I don't like to, I think that building same dashboards for multiple users is not a good idea. And because now instead of maintaining one dashboard, now I had to maintain two dashboards, right? So, but that was the only way that I could think about making sure that this total, as you can see, is $2.2 million, so $2.3 million out of all regions. If I apply my join for the level, let's say I'm the executive, I want to see everything. Notice that this number is no longer 2.3 million. This number now is 3 million. And so this total was overstated. So like I said, I had two solutions, either build another dashboard or from my data source, figure a way where I had to write some code from my entitlements table where it will parse my two users without the elimination of either a comma or a semicolon or anything I wanted to just, so basically all the users will be going like this. So that would create one row. And then instead of having two rows, now I have one row, and then could do the join, and that would fix the issue with my duplication of records. And then my totals will align at the top level. However, that requires a little bit of knowing how to develop code in your data source, and you have to parse the data, make sure that all the users come as a string, and that requires a little bit of coding. And not all the users who work in Tableau have the ability to either have access to data sources such as those those data sources such as either platforms like Snowflake or Google BigQuery or SQL Server, or they don't have the knowledge of writing the SQL code that they needed in order to make that format. So after relationships came along, that basically solves the problem, right? If we go back to my example of the join, which is this, but now instead of doing a join, now I do a relationship. So I'm just going to switch to my data source that has a relationship. For those who may know this or may not know this, but there is a way that when you're working with multiple data sources and you want a different data source to fit your dashboard, you just right click on the data source, you say replace data source, and then you select now the data source that you want to fit all the visuals in your dashboard. So I'm going to go from a join to a relationship, and that you can see it here. So I'm going to say, okay. So now notice that the join is no longer going to fit my visuals. Now is the relationship data source. So let's take a look. Let's take a look and see how it looks. So notice now that instead of a join, if you remember, joins go in your physical layer. When you double click, this becomes your physical layer. That's where your joins go. Relationships go in your logical layer. If you remember that or you read about that. In this case, now I have a relationship, and the way it looks like is just very simple. I still have two regions. I didn't have to do that magical code of parsing the data, transform it into one string. It's very simple. I can use my typical structure of having a simple entitlement table. I don't have to do anything special about it. I can have as many users on the west, as many users on the east. That's not going to cause a duplication of records. So now if we look at our totals with using the relationships, and I go to show my totals, now you can see that I am the executive who can see all the regions, and now my totals are showing correctly. If I change to be Michael gets to see two regions. He gets to see the south, he gets to see the west, and totals will align, right? It's showing 1.1 million because you have two regions, but if I were to select just the west, it goes back to the 725,000. So relationships are great. I really are really great with row level security. I now use them all the time. I'm no longer use joins. I just use relationships for row level security. Another thing that I find is that but implementing the row level security in your user relationships is more reliable when you have incremental refreshes in your data. And for those of you who are not familiar with incremental refreshes, it's simply an extract that you create, and you have two, basically you have two options on your extracts. You either do a full refresh every day, which means it's going to refresh all your data, or you do incremental refreshes, which means it would only go and look for those new records that were added from the last refresh. So one of the things that I find out about using row level security with joins and incremental refreshes is that new users added to my entitlements table were not being picked. Basically, I had to wait until that day of the week with the data will do a full refresh to pick those new users. But with the row level security, that doesn't happen. With the relationships, I'm sorry, with the relationships, that doesn't happen. I don't have to worry about it. As soon as you add the new users to your entitlements table, they immediately get picked and they can immediately start using the dashboard. Otherwise, the user, and this is again for incremental refreshes. So there are a few things that you've got to test as you use joins versus relationships. Think about, in this case, is that going to affect your new if you're doing an incremental refresh, are you picking up everything, including everything from your joins, or is something that if you are doing or is something that it's getting missed. So there are a couple of things that you need to test when you're implementing row level security, especially if you have other models within your data or joins fitting your data set. But row level security so far is very reliable, and I'm reading the comments as I go, but row level security is relationships are very reliable to do row level security. I use it now. I went away from the joins, and like I say, it solves a few problems. So let me go to the chat to read the questions. It says, oh, okay, Michael, or if you see, and then Sophie, can you please show us how you got your relationship list? Oh yes, I can, definitely, I can do that. So to add a relationship, the only thing you gotta do is so there are a few things. Remember, relationships, you still need a key in common in order to join them, okay? If you have two tables, but they don't have a key in common, either joins or relationships don't gonna work, right? You're not gonna get what you need. So the first thing is, as joins, you gotta have a common key between the two tables, but relationships, you just need to drag and you get this noodle that you say here, like a noodle soup, like a pasta noodle. And basically it creates this noodle and you just drop it, right? You just drag it, then you see this noodle and you add it. And then you gotta make sure sometimes your relationship would immediately show a match, in this case, region to region. And this is an assumption that Tableau does, right? It says, okay, you have a region in your order table, and you have a region in your people table. So I'm assuming this is the same thing that you want to show. However, don't always go with the assumption of Tableau as it's making the relationship. Always make sure that your relationships, in this case, if you click on the noodle, now once the relationships have created, notice that if you have to change that relationship, you can do it. Just make sure that you always pick the right field. Don't let Tableau make that assumption unless you're very confident that that's how you want to use the keys between your tables. So I have always struggled with join blend behavior. So okay, that's a great question, and that's Kevin. Kevin, relationships have improved the performance in the server and Tableau Online as well, and the refreshing times. Yes, blends. What happens is when you create a blend, basically you are creating two queries. One, Tableau both times has to go and aggregate the data, but it goes back to your data source. So it always goes back to your data source. It's never locally. So that you're creating two calls. If you look at how Tableau desktop calls the queries to the BizQL from your visualization to your data source, blends create two calls, basically two queries. So two times Tableau has to go to your data source and aggregate the data and bring you results. Joins are the same thing. The joins will also go back to your data source and create that call, right? So it's not good for performance. So relationships happen locally. And also relationships, the great thing about using relationships is that basically anything you bring into the view, that's what the Tableau processes. If anything that is you don't bring to your view, the Tableau won't take it into consideration in terms of, Tableau desktop. It won't be taken into consideration in terms of calculations and all that. So, yep, the performance is great. It's better. I will say remember that there are a lot of things that you have to take into consideration in terms of performance. It's not just a join or a blend or versus a relationship. Relationships you will do great, but you also have to take into consideration if you are connected directly to a platform like, let's say, Google BigQuery, you gotta also know how are those tables structured, how are your joins structured in Google BigQuery or on SQL Server, how are your tables indexed, also how many calculations you have in your data in Tableau. The more calculations you have on your Tableau desktop, the more processing time you're gonna take. Especially if you start having a lot of counting things or a very heavy performance calculations. Also, parameters will perform better than filters, etc. So there is a lot to take into consideration when you're looking at performance. Basically, it can be a lot of things. So this is on relationships. I know, great questions. So Sophie has a question, is what is the default relationship? I believe it's an inner join for what I've seen. It behaves like an inner join. And that's my, I'll see if Michael and the team has any suggestions of what they noticed, but what I've seen, it has it becomes more like an inner join.
Yeah, I put in there, they're actually not joins. So that's the thing with relationships. We can't even really consider them, what do they behave as? Because they're not joins. It's not doing a right join, left join, inner join, full outer join, or any kind of join. They're relating to one another. And that's the whole new data model kind of evaluation at runtime.
Right, that's correct.
So it's kind of hard to describe it in a sense that, what we're talking about today, if you need specific control over how the data works, this is where relationships and joins kind of differ. Relationships are great for most use cases today, right? Adriana went through a whole bunch and everything just kind of worked. That may not always be the case. And this is why Tableau still has that, legacy or, logical layer that you can kind of dig in and change the behavior. The one thing that I don't necessarily like, especially for new users that kind of come into Tableau, is you're presented with the relationship, the noodle, and it's not very apparent how to get in and actually control that join.
That relationship, yes.
Right. So you've got your migrated data, piece where you can actually jump in and start controlling how that data, if you want to relate that orders, to people as an inner join, you can do that once you get into the,
physical
layer there, right? So there's some good white papers. I'll see if I can find it in some other videos that actually kind of talk through the whole relationships, versus joins versus blends. Adriana did a great job, but we can't think of relationships as, what is the behavior of the join it's doing, because it's, again, not doing a join.
That's correct. Yeah, Michael is, thank you, Michael, for jumping on and getting clarified that language, the language, you still need a field in common to create that relationship. And you just gotta observe the behavior based on the fields that you bring into your view and what other tables or views make up your model, so that you can understand how your relationships are working. But this isn't relationship. Before I go, I still do have, and I'm looking at the chat. Let's see, how to use relationship coordinates, one to many, many to one. There, it has a few options, that you can use. Let me go really quick before I jump into my next subject. So you are, and you click in your relationship, and you go here. Notice that it gives you the option. You gotta understand how this behaves, right? But you gotta say many to many, or one to one, or you can. I have not played a lot with this functionality, because I usually structure my data from the from the platform. Like I basically code all the semantic views the way I need to create my model. So I usually, it's already structured for me when I develop the dashboards, because I already structure it with code behind the scenes to behave faster. But yeah, Tableau allows you to pick up some options, and this will be for any of you to try and play with and see how your data changes and your results change. Great questions. Is it safe to leave them default? Not understanding that question. Maybe you can add a little bit more context. But while that happens, Jay, there is one more quick feature, one of the new features with, I believe is 2021.1, which we had a quick LODs. And quick LOD is basically, if you are familiar with level of detail calculations, which I suggest if you're new to using Tableau Desktop or Tableau, you got to learn and understand how level of details work, as well as what is the order of operation on the filters and how that works, because they go together. I like to teach level of detail calculations with the order operations on your filter area, because it's super important to understand where the level of detail calculations fall into the order of your filters. So I just want to throw that out there. But there is a new feature. Once you learn to do level of detail calculation, now Tableau has a new feature that is called quick LODs. And again, I believe this is with the 2021.1 version of Tableau. So you gotta have that version or greater than that. And quick LODs are very simple. They would only create fix if you remember, or if you're familiar with level of details. There are 3 types of level of detail calculations you can create. Is a fix, an exclude, and include. And Michael has posted a link there that it explains, takes you to the quick LODs. But I would also suggest, if you are not familiar with the level of detail calculations, I highly suggest that you read about it so you can learn about the 3 different types of LODs: fix, exclude, and include. So there is one trick that you gotta know, which is not very obvious in the documentation and the Tableau website, but I believe is if Michael posted that video to the quick LOD, that will make total sense. But there is a trick that you just have to remember to how to create the quick LODs. Will save you some time. Just saves you a few clicks. You don't have to go to the calculated field and create the field and write the syntax. If you want to say what is the cells, let's say you want to do a fixed calculation, that you want to get your cells per region. So the only thing you gotta do is you gotta drag the cells towards your dimension that you want to create a fixed LOD. But the trick here is, if I just try to drag cells into my dimension area, notice that the only thing I see is the line that says you're now trying to cross from measures to dimensions. So the trick here is that if it's a Windows, I'm using a Windows. So it's a control cells. You gotta click control, grab cells, and drag it towards the dimension that you want to create the LOD. So I'm just gonna drop it right there. And notice that once I drop it, it created a new calculated field. So if you can right click on it, edit, and notice that it has created a fixed level of detail calculation. Like I said, it only creates fixed, but you can, over here, you can then, if you need this to be an exclude or include, you can just type it and it will change your type of LOD. The other option is you can, so this is one way to create a quick LOD. And the other option is that you can select cells and the dimension with a control key, again, from a Windows computer. And once you have the measure and the dimension selected, you can right click. And you're gonna get this create. And it says right here, LOD calculation. Okay, so just remember the trick is you gotta select both the measure and the dimension, and then you go to the right click, create LOD calculation, and then it's tell you, is this what you're gonna do? At this point, you can change it to an exclude or include. So for you to use this feature, I recommend that you first learn about LODs. It's super important I have not created anything in Tableau that I have not had to use an LOD. Just don't learn about level of detail calculations. You also, super important that you learn about the filter order of operations, because then you will be able to understand why you're seeing the results that you're seeing. If it's something that you're not seeing the right results, is probably most likely your filters. Most likely will be an issue with your filters. So please learn that along with your LODs. So let me check my time. So I'm right on time, on 30-minute mark. Any quick questions before I pass it back to Michael? Looking at the chat.
Oh, this was good. You know, one of the things I'll kind of comment on with the quick LODs, they're kind of fun, you know, to create. One, if you're not familiar with LODs, trying to write that syntax or understand, you know, when you have to put the, where's the dimension go, where's the measure go, you know, at what aggregation can I do? You know, it's pretty intuitive to, as she was showing, to just drag those fields on there or control click and, you know, create the LOD. But you do have to understand that this is a very restricted, limited capability. As you mentioned, you only get the fixed capability and you only have that one level of dimensionality, you know, within a quick LOD. You can go in and modify all day long, you know, if that helps to kind of, you know, kickstart things. But I think for most people, once you start writing LODs, most people will start, you know, or eventually begin to do more advanced LODs, nested calculations and multiple levels of, you know, dimensionality and things like that. So to your point, you know, check out the video, learn LODs, learn, you know, what it can't do. But, you know, it is a quick way to create one. It's just really hacky. It is not intuitive at all. So if you want to go back to the video and rewatch it, do that. Otherwise, follow the instructions on the link we provided in the chat. Play with it. But yeah, it is, unfortunately, it is just not all intuitive or very flexible yet. We do have the ideas page. You know, if you're brand new to Tableau and you're wondering how do you get involved and how do you make your suggestions heard, you know, Google Tableau ideas, go out there and either vote one up, or if you've got a great idea on how to enhance or make a feature better, that's how this all works.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. Yeah, if there's any questions for Adriana with relationships, quick LODs, row level security, go ahead and put those in the Q&A or the chat. She'll respond throughout the meeting. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again, and then we'll kind of go through the rest of the meeting with the time that we have left and try to cover quite a few things. So we're going to talk about some of the new formatting, copy paste capabilities. I'm going to see if I can jump into Tableau Public and show you some of the new features there with the Hire Me button. So again, for those of you maybe just starting out with Tableau, or you're looking to upskill or advance, or you're already a rock star and you want to make some extra income, you want to showcase, hey, I'm available for Hire Me, and we'll talk about why that's so important. We might have some time to cover Explain Data. So if I know Explain Data is not brand new to Tableau, but this may be the first time that you're hearing about it. There's been some enhancements with this feature over the last couple versions. Explain Data is now available for everyone. So we'll also try to jump in and talk to that a little bit, and we'll finish off with some Tableau trivia. So if you were paying attention today and you got a good grasp of what's going on, you should do really well. It's a great way to learn, have some fun, and maybe win some Tableau swag at the end. All right, so let's start with the formatting. I'm going to go ahead and kind of jump over to Tableau. Let me know, am I sharing my screen? Can you see Tableau Desktop?
Yes.
All right, good deal. All right, so I've got a dashboard or a worksheet open with a connection to Superstore. I created a basic dashboard. So one of the nice things now with the newer versions of Tableau, Tableau Desktop, Tableau Server, Tableau Online, is you can actually do copy and paste. And there's certain things that you can copy and certain things that you can paste and other things that you can't, and we'll go through some of those. But I wanted to just give you a quick demo of some of the capabilities on the screen. So what I have here is a text label. I've got an image, I've got a worksheet, and I've got a container. So everything here minus the worksheet itself, which there is a way to duplicate and copy that, and we can talk to that in a moment. But everything else is copy and pastable, if that's the way we want to kind of term that. So there's a couple ways we can do this. When you click on the object itself, you can go down, click on the little caret, and that will expose the copy dashboard item. Now, if I select that, there is no right click and paste. So if you're on Windows, it's just like you would paste anything, Control V. On a Mac, Command V. I'm going to go ahead and paste all day long, and I can do that. Now you will notice that when I do end up pasting, I can drag these around. What's happening now is that these are actually pasting these as floating objects. So if your intent is to lock these in place, you would just have to go through, unfloat them, and then reposition them wherever you might need. So that is one of the caveats that as you're going through copy and pasting, these are all actually locked into place. They're not floating, they're tiled. So if that's your thing, great. If not, it's just going to be a copy paste as a float. Now I can come in here, do the same exact thing, click on the drop down caret, copy the dashboard item, paste it, and just do Control V, multiple times. Again, I'm on a Windows machine. If you're on a Mac, that'll be the command. I think I had one more. There we go. So pretty simple and intuitive. The containers too, this is a horizontal container. I can come in, copy that dashboard item, Control V, and I've got that. This is my, and it's a quick way if you've got some custom formatting or capabilities to make sure that things kind of stay within some continuity. But as hopefully you noticed that this is not perfect. So these might be one of those things where we might want to vote up some ideas or communicate on the Tableau forums what might be going on. I just copied and pasted this. I had a custom background with my container. When I pasted it brand new, yes, it brought over the title, which was great, but it did not bring the formatting. So it's not a perfect one-to-one copy paste scenario, but it is super useful. I think most of us have been wanting copy paste capabilities forever. To some degree, it is here now. So it's only going to get better from there. One of the other nice things is that you can actually do some interchangeable copy paste between the browser and desktop. So if you're working in Tableau web authoring, either through server or online, you can actually copy and paste these objects, within. So I'll go through real quick. What can I copy? I can copy objects within the current dashboard itself or dashboards from other sheets. Now, what you can't copy is the sheet content itself, right? I cannot go into a sheet, click on this and copy this. But hopefully everyone is aware. If not, you can actually duplicate this content. So if you did want to come in, you could duplicate. And now I've got a second copy of that, which is great. I can modify it, maybe change the sales to profit, and I'm good to go. But I cannot actually just do a Control C or Control V or click a caret and copy with those worksheets. Can't copy filters, parameters, or legends. I can't actually copy if I did a phone layout. I wouldn't be able to copy anything within there. Now, the one thing we did see that we can copy is text objects. But what we cannot do, I can't just come in here, look at my dashboard title. I can't copy this. So there is no copy dashboard object. So if you're going to copy anything, you want to bring in your own text objects, your own containers, most any of these objects within here, web page, extensions, things like that. Those can all be copy and pasted between your dashboards or Tableau Server, Tableau Online, and Desktop. All right, I'll look at the questions. Nothing. If you do have any comments, questions, I'm not going to actively monitor that right now, but either Mujahid or Adriana, if you can just kind of keep an eye on that. If anything does come up, let me know. All right, so the next one we'll go through is Tableau Public. And I hope that everyone has a Tableau Public profile. If you don't have one, please, please, please sign up. It is super important. Next month, actually in March, we're gonna go over quite a bit with Tableau Public, interactive resumes, and all of those types of great things on upskilling, advancing your career. So it will be important to have your Tableau Public profile at that point. You can sign up for free. This is Tableau Public is entirely free, does not cost anything. You go out to public.tableau.com, sign up for an account. I highly recommend that you sign up with a personal account. If you do want to sign up with a work account, that's fine. But if you do end up moving, things like that, to another organization, it is always best to have something personalized just for yourself. All right, so the one thing I did want to mention is this Hire Me option. And we'll definitely get into that in our March meeting when we're talking about it. But let's go back to my profile. My profile's got my name, location, it's got a little synopsis, all my vises and things that you can and can't see, and that's great. The Hire Me button is a new feature capability within Tableau Public. If you just saw what I did, I'm going to go back here. Once you sign in, you'll get your Edit Profile button. On the Edit Profile page, towards the bottom, you'll see Available for Hire. Now, if I select this, this is going to have your personal information. Go ahead and feel free to email me. Don't care. It's all good. Now, when I see this, I've got my Hire Me button. And this is telling prospective either employers or people that might be out looking at your portfolio that, hey, you're available for hire. Now, one of the things that we've seen a lot of organizations do that are looking for talent is to scrape the Tableau Public platform. And they're looking for the Hire Me button. So for those of you that might be looking for jobs or opportunities, we want to see your Tableau Public portfolio, whether you're doing Makeover Mondays, Workout Wednesdays, your own things, showing some bespoke visualizations, really awesome stuff. This is probably the #1 most important thing that employers, prospective employers, will look for in candidates. And this is a great way, now that Tableau has this hire me function, that we can actually go through and just scour, scrape a lot of the portfolios within Tableau Public, looking for that hire me function. And then this will give us kind of those leads. If you're worried about, well, how are people going to find me? They're going to find you. If you enable that, that's a great way to kind of let people know, hey, you're available either for freelance or for employment. So quick way, just want to let you know that this was a new feature. We're talking about Tableau Public, easy to implement and do that. So again, edit your profile at the bottom there, available for hire, check that box, save it, and you'll have the hire me button. All right, what else do we have? Explain data. Let's go back to Tableau, and we'll use this same dashboard to kind of go through explain data. So I'm curious, and you can kind of chime in the chat. How many people are using explain data today? Or how many of you, if this is the first time you're hearing about explain data, we want to know. In my experience, there is not a lot of people that have been using explain data, nor know what it is, how to use it. And it has been around for quite a while, but recently, I think 21.2, Tableau made some enhancements to explain data where it is now accessible by all license types. So what is a license type? If you're using Tableau Desktop or Tableau Prep, you're using that creator license. If you've got like Tableau Online or Tableau Server, the other license types that might be available in your organization are Explorer and Viewer. So explorers are people that might be able to go in and leverage published data sources and create some workbooks off of. They don't necessarily need Tableau Desktop. Everything is kind of done in the browser. And then everyone else that's consuming your data through published data workbooks, data sources, things like that, Ask Data, those are going to be your viewers, people that are interacting with the web content in that online and Tableau server space. So where explain data is helpful. There's a lot of use cases on that, but we'll kind of go through and kind of really just showcase maybe one example before we kind of jump in trivia here. I want to know more about furniture, office supplies, and technology. This is, a very basic dashboard that you might pump out as far as like a KPI or metrics, and your users are looking at this, and this is, hey, this is great. There's my total. I can see it for the different categories, but more times than not, your users are, what's making this up? How do I, figure out what's what? And more times than not, they're coming in here and they're looking at, this view data option. And the view data option, again, depending on your site role, creator, explorer, viewer, maybe you have certain capabilities to see kind of the full data set that makes up that aggregation. And so that 742,000 that makes up furniture, this is all of that underlying data that might be accessible to them. And users might come in here and they may do a data dump. And this is concerning for many, many reasons, right? We don't necessarily want people to regurgitate data or download data or post-process it, because ultimately that ends up in confusion. And you know how that whole thing goes. So then the option is, okay, well, I can create maybe a details worksheet and do something like a viz in tooltips, right? If I hover over this, or maybe I do a click through where I click on the furniture, I can do some things with set actions and kind of drill into that, exposing some more information and data. But it really doesn't solve the question at hand is, what's driving these numbers or things like that, or can I actually, create enough content to scale? It's not really a big deal for me to create a separate details page here, add it in there and give it out. But when you're in an enterprise organization and you've got dozens or hundreds of requests to enhance your data, it can become a little challenging. So, again, one of the things I mentioned is kind of coming in, adding in, tooltips. I know that that's kind of redundant here, but you get the idea. Again, it doesn't always help. It's not necessarily intuitive. So the whole thing with explain data allows a user to kind of come in here and click on an option, and I'm going to have to add some more details here, but you would get another icon, a little light bulb, which essentially just kind of baked in exposes explain data. And what it does, it starts to evaluate some information based on the level of information that's in your data set. So I am really drawing a blank right now on getting the explain data to show up, but any questions maybe I'm missing here? Haven't heard of it, not using it, used it, first time hearing about it. Use a scatter plot. Thanks. Let's do that. All right. I think I need some more dimensions, right? Profit. Categories, do profit. Here we go. All right. So I'm looking at this metric here, and let's just say that this is an outlier. I don't know why this is kind of the way it is, but when I click on it, I've got this icon. Let me see if my thing is here. There we go. So little light bulb, pretty easy to use. When I click on that, what Tableau is going to do is interpret that data and start making some inferences through some AI and ML, machine learning, artificial intelligence type technology, and going through and making some assessments. Now, this is saying, hey, the sum of this profit is higher than expected. And I can go through and I can click on that, and Tableau will kind of churn and will give me a reason why that this particular metric is the way that it is, which is, again, fantastic. And I apologize for the delay in data. It's actually talking over the internet to some cloud databases, so not necessarily the fastest. But the point being is we have, I don't want to say complete control over how we want this data interpreted. Once this returns back, I'll show you where we can actually make some settings. Let me just cancel out and see if we can do that real quick. Down here towards the bottom, you have a little gear icon. And that is going to allow us to make some changes and also enable, for that matter, want to make sure that we cover that, to what explain data does. So as you're developing in Tableau Desktop, this is great. If you were to publish this dashboard as it is, you need to make sure that you come in and you check this option to allow explain data to be used in the workbook once it's viewed online. If you don't do that, they're not going to get that little light bulb icon. So you want to make sure that you check that option down in that settings. The other option is that Tableau by default is going to assess this and incorporate certain fields that could be used for explain data. And we'll go ahead and, if we have some time, we'll pump in some links to where you can find out some more information about explain data. Certain fields can and can't be used depending on the quantity or the variety dimensions, I think, or measures over 500 unique or 1,000 unique, something of that nature, just won't show up or be considered. So with that being said, you still have a lot of control over which fields kind of play into how explain data or how the data is interpreted for explain data. Hopefully that makes sense. You also have some options in the tab next to the fields that you choose on what types of data can be included, your extreme values, the number of records, average marks, nulls, and so forth. But a lot of good information out on the Tableau website, and I'll paste this link into the chat. But for those of you that are really looking at helping your users understand why data is the way it is, maybe those KPIs, you've got one sale that was just amazing, or your profit is just horrendous. And if you're familiar with Superstore, you know that certain profitability on categories are just bad, but they're only bad because of certain maybe regions or ship modes or things like that. And this happens in organizations all the time. You don't want to discount a metric just because something's good or bad. You want to make sure you see the big picture. And this is where explain data can actually help you out in understanding, what's causing this, and is there anything else I need to be aware of to make maybe more informed decisions. All right. So hopefully that's all good. We'll go ahead, paste that. Actually, do we have that in there? Thanks, Mujahid, appreciate that. All right, so we got explain data link in there. Any questions, comments, go ahead and post them into the chat. But what we're gonna do now is flip over and see if you were all paying attention. So what I want everyone to do is head out to menti.com, and we have a game code of 751212285. So I posted those all into the chat. We'll wait about a minute or so and allow people to kind of log in. Looks like we've got some users coming in. Fantastic. So this is your opportunity to learn a little bit about Tableau. We're going to get to know you initially. It's a fun way to figure out kind of who you are, what you're interested in, and then we'll kind of jump into some trivia. What did we learn today? Let's test your knowledge, see if you're paying attention, or just some random Tableau trivia knowledge. For our winners, as long as you're not an ambassador or a Zen master, everyone's kind of in the running. And we'll get started in another minute here. So again, for those of you, if you want to join, you can join from a phone, join from your desktop. You go to menti.com. You got the code 75121285. All right, so let's go ahead. Feel free to join. We're just going to go through and answer some get to know you kind of questions. All right, so hopefully this is all working for everyone. What city, state are you joining us from today? There we go. All right, so we got a bunch of people in California, Arizona, Minneapolis. Welcome, everyone. Charlotte, fantastic, everywhere. Maryland, great. All right, we're spread out. Love this. All right, we'll give it another few seconds and then we'll move on to the next question. All right, so is this your first time at a user group? Again, we've got tons and tons of virtual user groups out there, industry specific ones, local user groups. As you just saw, we've got a diverse crowd all across the US, so we appreciate you joining from wherever you are. For those of you first time joining a user group, appreciate you being here. It's amazing. We do this monthly. We're also going to be doing quarterly workshops. So we just had our first Tableau workshop of the year a few weeks ago. We will be doing another one in April. We'll also be doing some ad hoc workshops. So if you're interested in maybe like Tableau prep or some things like that, we're looking at spinning some of those up. So make sure you're subscribed to our user group channel. You can find that at phoenixtug.com and sign up for updates. And anytime we post something out there, you can have the ability to sign up. All right, so for all of you that have attended some and regular attendee, thank you, appreciate all that. Now, how long have you been using Tableau? All right, looks like we got some new people. Welcome to the community again. A lot of great resources for learning. For those of you that have been with us a long time, it's always awesome to have you back. Love the learning. And again, as always, just a plug for certification. For those of you that are, 2, 4 years, 5 years, get your certifications. If you already have them, fantastic, love it. If not, go out and get it. Show people what you can do. And along with what we talked about earlier today with Tableau Public and Hire Me, your portfolio, those certifications, they do go a long way. So check those out. Speaking of certifications, what do we have? Now, I know on here, you're going to notice if you go out to the Tableau website, a lot of these certifications aren't listed anymore. And Tableau has retired most of the professional exams and the associate exam, and have now replaced it with a couple. You got the desktop specialist still, the data analyst exam. You've got some partner certifications, and more will be coming up. So again, for those of you that don't have certification, do it. Just do it. Start off with the Tableau Desktop Specialist. This is going to be a great foundational way to get your certs. And even for those of you that have been using Tableau a long time, I still recommend getting your Tableau Desktop Specialist cert first. This is going to introduce you to the certification platform. And that's, for me, that's one of those biggest things, test anxiety and things, the content you can probably do all day long. It's just the event itself. Nervous, anxiety, things like that. Once you get something, I don't want to say too basic out of the way, but again, if you've been using Tableau a while or been using it at least 6 months and you got a good grasp of the foundational concepts and terminology, you should do well. But go to the website, tableau.com/certification, download the study guides, take a look at it, and do sign up. We want to make sure that the next time that we meet, we start to see some of these numbers rise just a little bit. Part of what we do all year round is, build out content and topics that you're interested in. So what is it you're interested in? We've got Tableau Public, desktop, prep, server and online, mobile, data dev, APIs, and hopefully everyone knows that Tableau is a part of the Salesforce family now. So it isn't just one product in particular anymore. It's a whole ecosystem. So, if you really want to shine, with Tableau, Salesforce, do join us next month. You can learn about pretty much the entire platform: Tableau CRM, Einstein, Slack, Lightning Web Components, and Tableau itself. So fantastic. Just as expected, Tableau Desktop, reigns supreme. Prep is a fantastic tool as well. Again, we'll probably be covering a workshop in the near future on that. So if you're interested in learning more about prep and desktop, stay tuned, watch for those workshops, sign up when they do come out. All right. Now, how familiar are you with the data literacy? We talked a little bit about this at the very beginning. If you haven't heard about data literacy or been exposed to it, you get the free data literacy e-learning path from Tableau. Communicate that through your organization. It's free, a lot of great content. So fantastic. So for everyone out there, check that out. Want to make sure everyone is well versed in the data literacy concepts. Now, do you know if your organization is actively promoting data literacy? And if they're not, here's again an opportunity for you to maybe help promote that, spin something up. The other thing that Tableau's got free for everyone to use is the Tableau Blueprint and the data culture playbooks. So if you're looking at really spearheading data-driven culture changes in your organization, do check out the free e-learning, but also check out Tableau Blueprint and the data culture playbooks. This is going to give you a step-by-step guide on how you incorporate a lot of those capabilities into your organization, getting your leaderships engaged, different teams for support, deployment, enablement, all of that. So fantastic. All right. I think this will be the last kind of question, then we'll jump into the trivia. Is anyone using the free e-learning data literacy? Plan to? I hope everybody plans to. So again, free, quick, easy way to get up to speed with the data literacy. It shouldn't take more than maybe 30 minutes, a half hour, hour at the most. A lot of great topics in there. Fantastic. All right. It's Tableau trivia time. Let's see who's paying attention. All right. Now, the faster you answer, the more points you get. Where can you learn about new Tableau feature highlights? Covered this at the very beginning of the announcements. All right, fantastic. So tableau.com/new-features. From that page also, while it will show you everything in the 21.4, which is the current latest release, you will be able to go back and look at all features. So replace the new with the all, and you'll be able to see everything from 21.4 and back. And we know all organizations don't, upgrade every single time. So in between a version that you might be on to a version that you might be upgrading to, this is a great way for you to go out and see what has changed or been introduced in between, and communicate that in your organizations. All right. Which is not a valid level of detail expression? So Adriana talked about some of the LODs today. Which one is not a valid expression? Max, absolutely. So fixed is the default quick level of detail calculation feature we saw today. Include, exclude are also the other two that are available. Max is just an aggregated level that you can use within a LOD or just kind of independently as a standalone calculation. So max is not a valid LOD expression. All right, next question. What are valid license types within Tableau? Covered this at a high level, maybe about 10 minutes ago. So which ones are valid? Right, so the viewer, explorer, and creator, those are all valid ones. The analyst is not. So the creator is your license type that allows you to use Tableau Desktop and Tableau Prep. The explorer allows a web author to go in and actually create content if they're so provisioned within the Tableau Online or Tableau Server. And the viewer is pretty much every other web consumer that can access your Tableau Server, Tableau Online environment, and consume those dashboards that you create. Analyst is not a valid license type. All right, next question. Where are dashboard extensions, accelerators, and connectors found? Now, this is not something that we talked about today. So if you're staying up to date with the Tableau blog or watching keynotes at maybe the conference, talked about this, not necessarily common knowledge. Tableau Exchange. So the Tableau Exchange is kind of this new rebranded marketplace, if you will. And I did intentionally use the word marketplace to kind of deceive you, as well as the App Store. None of those are real. Those don't exist. The Tableau Exchange is actually what's out there. So if you do go out to exchange.tableau.com, this is where you're going to find those extensions, accelerators. Accelerators are just rebranded dashboard starters. So if you've got in your organization things like Salesforce, Marketo, Eloqua, and a few others, ServiceNow, these are dashboards that you can actually download, connect to, and have already pre-made dashboards that you can modify. Extensions just allow you to extend the capability of Tableau out of the box. Super amazing. And connectors are connectors on top of Tableau that allow you to connect to even more than kind of what's out there today. And this is all going to be wrapped into that Tableau Exchange platform. All right, last question. What features does the data management add-on support? Again, not something we necessarily talked about today, but if you're kind of up to speed on Tableau Server, Tableau Online, the data management add-on is a paid component. That's not something that you necessarily get for free. And this is what it supports. You will get the data catalog included with the data management add-on, and data catalog basically gives you a way to traverse your entire Tableau Server or Tableau Online ecosystem with all the data, understand the lineage, where things are coming from, what is the makeup of fields and data sources, and how they all interconnect and relate. A lot of great information. Tableau Prep, for those of you that are using a creator license, you do have the ability to use Tableau Prep. Now, when you publish a flow to Tableau Server or Tableau Online, unfortunately, you don't get to necessarily automate that flow or schedule it like you would a dashboard. And that's because you do need the data management add-on to actually kind of trigger that capability. So for those of you that are using Tableau Prep or looking to use Tableau Prep in your organization, strongly recommended that you do have that data management add-on so you can automate your Tableau Prep flows and automation. One of the things that we saw today from Adriana was relationships and a way to kind of incorporate row-level security. Now, Tableau has this functionality built in to a much granular degree, but it's only accessible through the data management add-on. And we're going to cover that in a future user group meeting because it is so vast and it is a deep, very technical conversation. But for those of you that are looking at doing row-level security in a centralized fashion, that doesn't necessarily have to include you managing your own entitlements table or individual dashboard user-level security, do join us for that. But that's the three components that are baked into the data management add-on. Resource monitoring is a component of the server management add-on that allows server admins, site admins to understand their Tableau server basically utilization, how the platform is running health-wise. But that is not part of the data management. Okay, so let's find out who our leaders are today. We've got top three. So Belle, congratulations. You're the top winner. Other two, please do reach out through the chat or send an email to info@phoenixtug.com. Go ahead, if you're still on, go ahead and put that into the chat. When I hear from you, we'll get you some swag. Congratulations on knowing Tableau really well. I'll flip over. Great, thank you for that. If there's any other questions, go ahead and put them into the chat. We'll follow up either over email or social media. As always, do follow us online. We're on Twitter at Phoenix Tug, LinkedIn as well. Want you to join our LinkedIn group. Make sure you do sign up, as I mentioned before, for all of our user group events. Go to phoenixtug.com. That'll take you to the LinkedIn group where also we post information about upcoming events, which will link back to the community. So thank you to everyone. I do see there's a question. Is there a way to import or export field comments? So I just want to maybe get some clarification on that question. Are you referring to, all right, so the field properties, the metadata you're talking about, right? So within Tableau, you can set, actually, I'll kind of just show you here real quick. In the ship date, I can go down to, where's my comments, default properties, comment, and I can do, this is describing ship date, don't say that. Now, if I hover over that ship date, that's going to expose the comment. So yes, there's a way to kind of do this. You can use, I think metadata API, so in graphical or just the metadata API in itself, I believe you can get to that level of detail where the metadata is exposed. I will follow up and make sure. So yeah, I'll follow up with Reggie. But I'm pretty sure you can do that through the metadata API. All right. Thanks everyone for joining. Again, this meeting will be recorded. We'll get all the information out. Please do join us next month. We're going to be a fantastic meeting. Everything you want to know about Salesforce and more. So a lot of great stuff. Have a great rest of the day, great week. We'll see you next time. Thanks everyone.